and command line arguments. Main method is very important method which is used to call operating system to provide the resources which are required to compute the program successfully. Each and every C program has one main method. So main can be written in two different ways. So let us see the signature how we are going to write it. Int main of bracket, open the curly brace. Under this we have initialization and we have executable section, and last we are going to write return space 0 followed by semicolon and close the main. So here whenever we are writing int followed by main, so main is returning some value which is of some integer value. Here the last statement within the main after the executable section we are seeing return 0, which means we are saying that is the compiler is getting a message as 0 which is giving to the main, and it is saying the operating system that your program has been successfully completed and the resources whatever they have been allocated, they can be freed up to use by the next program. So return 0 will give the message to the operating system stating that my program has been completed. You can release the resources whatever you have been allocated. And the next way of representation is void main followed by open the curly brace, initialization, executable, and there is no return in this void main. Void means it returns nothing. So these are the two ways how we can write the main method. Command line arguments. So under the main function you can write the arguments. So the arguments represented within the main are helpful for us to implement the concept of command line arguments. So let us see how we need to write this. Int main, so within the main we are writing int argc, comma, char star argv of array. Now here argc is nothing but argc is the argument count value. It's an integer that ranges from 1 through however how many times how many items were typed after the program name at the command prompt. So that will be the total argument count. Next, star argv of array. So it is an array of character pointers. You can think of it instead of as an array of strings, which is how it can be used in your code.
Let us see one example program, command line arguments. So let us see one example program related to command line arguments. The problem statement here is to find multiplication of two numbers using command line arguments. So as part of command line arguments, we know that we have argument counter and argument vector. Argument counter and argument vector. Now as part of the previous programs, we never see nowhere we have passed the argument to a main function. But as part of this program, we are going to pass the arguments to the main function. Int main, int argc, this is argument count, and char star argv. So here we are going to store all the things in the argument vector, which is of string. Now I am initializing two variables, int number1 and int num2. These two are the numbers, and multiplication mul. Now I am giving here if the argument, in order to multiply the two numbers, definitely we require two numbers followed by one argument will be the program name. So here I am giving here argument count equal to 3. If the argument count which is equal to 3, then I am giving a message to the user, printf enter the correct number of arguments, enter the correct number of arguments, exit of 0. Next, now I am going to take num1 value equal to a2i argv of 1. In argv of 0 we will be having the program name, in argv of 1 we will be having the first value. Next, num2 equal to a2i of argv of 2. Now we have read the two values from the command line argument. Now my task is to perform multiplication mul equal to num1 into num2, num1 into num2. Then I am printing the result, printf the multiplication of percentile d and percentile d is percentile d. So the arguments what I want to pass is num1 comma num2 comma mul. So this is how we are going to get the result with the help of command line arguments. Here very important thing which we need to understand is, what is this a2i? a2i is nothing but it's a function which is a library function which converts a a2i library function which is used to convert string to integer, because whatever the value whichever we are going to store, it is going to store within the argument vector and which is of character type. Now in order to convert that string into integer, we are using this a2i function, a2i library function. Now let us execute this code. Now before running, so you can see here there is a command line arguments. So whenever you are executing the code, so within the compilation process itself we need to pass the arguments. Now let me pass only one argument and check and run the code. Then I should get enter the correct number of arguments. So you'll be getting this error message, enter the correct number of arguments, which means now the number of arguments are not matching according to the requirement of the program. Now let me give the values as 10 and 20. So 10 space 20. So two arguments I have passed, right? Now which is not equal to 3, which means the first argument in argv of 0 we have the program name, and in argv of 1 we have the argument 1, and in argv2 we have the argument 2. In argv1 we have 10 and in argv2 we have 20. Now the total number of arguments are 3. Is 3 not equal to 3? False. That is the reason it is executing the code, right? Now let me run the code and you are going to get the output as the multiplication of 10 and 20 is 200. So this is the result which has been generated from the command line argument. The next program is to print all the arguments passed in command line argument. Now we know how to give the command line argument, for which we need to pass the parameters within the main function. Int argc is the argument count, char star argv is nothing but it's an argument vector where your arguments are being stored. Next, int I equal to 0, I am initializing one variable I equal to 0, I less than argc. The number of arguments are counted when we are passing in the command line argument. Until the condition is satisfied, you are going to print all the arguments which are there as part of the command line argument. Now let me give the command line. So here I am giving the arguments. Welcome to command line arguments. So totally how many arguments are there? Welcome 2 command line arguments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Totally there are 5 arguments. Now let me execute this code and check the 5 arguments printed along with the program, that is ./a.out, that is for execution. See, ./a.out is also an argument. ./a.out is for running the program, that is also been presented as an argument. So totally there are 6 arguments which we got it, right? This is how we can print the argument whatever we have passed in the command line. Command line arguments. Now let us understand how to implement command line arguments. The problem statement is to understand the concept of command line arguments. So as part of this command line arguments, we have argument counter and argument vector which should be given to the main function. stdio.h int main. Till now we didn't give any arguments in the main. Now we are going to pass the arguments for main. Int argc is the argument count and char star argv of vector. So this is how we need to give the parameters to the main, and while we are executing we need to pass the arguments. Now let me just printf what we have as part of the argument 1. So in the first argument will be the name of the program, that is the name of the program is %s, that will be stored in argv of 0. In argv of 0, first name of the program will be there. And next I am checking the condition and I am trying to give a message to the end user depending upon the number of arguments. Like if argument count is exactly equal to 2, then I need to display a message to the user stating that printf the value entered by the user is %s, or you can say the string or the argument entered by the user is %s, and this is stored in argv of 1. argv of 1. Next, else if the argument count is greater than 2, just I am prompting the user printf too many arguments passed by the user. Too many arguments passed by the user. Just this is a message which I am displaying to the user. The next case, else printf please enter at least one argument. Please enter at least one argument. So this is a message which I am giving to the user. Return 0. Now while we are executing, let me not pass any arguments, then the output will be displayed please enter at least one argument, right? Let me run this code. So the first one is the name of the program is ./a.out. This is used for execution. Okay, this is used for execution, and we got this last message, please enter at least one argument. Now let me execute once again the same code. So here I can say one argument name as welcome. Now you can see here whenever I execute this code, so the name of the program is ./a.out. The argument entered by the user is welcome. The argument entered by the user is welcome. So this is how we are getting the command line argument. Imagine if I am giving too many parameters, welcome to India. So if I am executing this code, then I am getting too many arguments passed by the user. Too many arguments passed by the user. So this is how the command line arguments will be used.